I never meant for any of it to happen. I wasn't the kind of girl who believed in fate, or prophecies, or the nonsense our elders whispered about bloodlines and moons. I was just tired. Tired of being dressed in jewels that felt like chains, tired of smiling for people who saw me as a treaty, not a person. That day, the day of the ceremony, I wasn't thinking of rebellion or destiny. I just wanted to breathe. The palace smelled of roses and tension. My mother's voice was a blade in the air, cutting through every moment of hesitation I showed. "Do not embarrass us, Leora," she said. I remember staring at her reflection in the mirror, her perfect poise, her cold eyes, and realizing I'd never be allowed to be anything more than an ornament. If I had known what that one desperate act would awaken, the curse, the bond, the ancient name whispered in the woods, maybe I would have stayed in that gilded prison. Maybe, but I didn't. And that's how I ended up kissing a beggar, who turned out to be the Cold Lichen King. Part 1. The Golden Cage. My engagement to Prince Alaric was supposed to secure peace between kingdoms, but to me, it felt like a sentence. They told me it was an honor, to be chosen as the bridge between two warring realms. My father stood before me, dressed in ceremonial gold, his voice proud as he announced my engagement to Prince Alaric. Everyone clapped. I smiled. That's what good daughters do. But inside, I was breaking. Alaric was everything a princess should want. Handsome, disciplined, born with charm and a bloodline older than the capital itself. But when he looked at me, I felt invisible, like he was gazing past me towards the crown I would help him keep. He spoke to me like a subject, not a bride. Every conversation was about alliances, trade routes, duty, never about what I wanted. The closer the ceremony came, the smaller I felt. Servants whispered about the Cold King in the north, a ruthless lichen alpha who ruled through winter's heart, but even his name felt less frightening than the life awaiting me beside Alaric. The morning of the engagement, I woke before sunrise. The palace halls were quiet, draped in silken candlelight. My gown hung by the window, shimmering like a snare. My hands trembled as I touched it. I thought of running. I'd thought about it before, but that morning the thought didn't go away. It sat heavy in my chest, pulsing like a heartbeat. My maid Tessa noticed my silence as she brushed my hair. "You'll be fine, my lady," she said softly, but even she couldn't meet my eyes. When I walked down the corridor toward the ceremonial garden, my reflection followed me in every golden mirror, a stranger in pearls. Guests filled the courtyard, their faces turned toward me with admiration and envy. None of them knew that beneath the lace and smiles I was counting the steps to the nearest gate. Alaric was waiting by the altar, his posture perfect, his smile rehearsed. And in that moment, as he extended his hand to me, I realized I couldn't do it. I couldn't spend my life performing for peace that wasn't mine to keep. So when the choir began to sing and the bells echoed through the air, I did something unforgivable. I turned and ran. Through the corridors, through the marble arches, past the guards shouting my name, I ran until the perfume of roses turned to the scent of dirt and rain, until the palace walls disappeared behind me and all that was left was the open road and my heartbeat. That's when I saw him, a figure by the gate, a beggar cloaked in rags, his head bowed. But when he lifted his eyes to mine, something cold and ancient stirred in the air. And I should have turned back right then. The beggar at the gate. On the day of the ceremony, I tried to flee, and that's when I saw him, filthy and wild-eyed, a beggar who looked straight through me. The rain started as a whisper, a few drops, soft on the dust, then a sudden storm that swallowed the road ahead. My silk shoes were ruined in minutes, and the hem of my gown clung to my legs like chains. I remember laughing, a small, broken laugh, because I'd never even walked in the rain before. The air smelled like mud and freedom, and for the first time in my life, I didn't know where I was going. I just knew it wasn't back there. The forest that bordered the city gates was silent except for the sound of water dripping from the trees. I kept walking until the castle spires disappeared behind a veil of mist. My breath burned, my curls were undone, and the jewels on my neck felt like a joke. And then I saw him. He was sitting under the old archway that marked the northern exit, the road that led to nowhere, or so people said. He looked half dead. His clothes were torn, his skin pale under layers of grime. But it was his eyes that stopped me. They weren't the dull eyes of a beggar. They were sharp, cold, like he was studying me, peeling away the layers of who I was with a single glance. I froze. "Are you lost, little dove?" His voice was low, rough but steady, the kind of voice that didn't belong to someone broken. I stepped back, clutching my soaked skirts. I'm not supposed to be here, He tilted his head. No one runs this far unless they mean to. Something in me snapped then. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe the fear that at any second the guards would find me. You don't understand, I said, my voice trembling. They want to cage me. Marry me off to a man I don't even love? He interrupted, like the word itself tasted bitter. I nodded. He smiled, but not kindly. Then why are you still wearing his jewels? I looked down. The golden chain around my neck glinted through the rain. Without thinking, I tore it off and threw it into the mud. It landed between us, a twisted symbol of everything I'd been running from. He watched me for a long moment, his eyes unreadable. Then he stood. For a beggar, he moved too gracefully, too controlled. You should turn back, he said, before you meet worse things than me out here. Maybe I deserve worse, I whispered. Something flickered in his expression, a flash of emotion I couldn't name. Then faintly he said, Careful what you wish for, Dove. The forest listens, thunder cracked overhead. I flinched. He took a slow step closer, and for the briefest second I thought he might help me, or at least tell me where to go. But instead his gaze softened, almost pitying. Then I heard it. Voices in the distance. Guards. My name, echoing through the trees. My heart leapt into my throat. The beggar's eyes darted past me toward the sound. They're coming. I can't let them take me back, I gasped. I can't. And that's when the idea, mad, desperate, hit me. I didn't think it through. I didn't even know why I did it. I only knew that when the guards burst through the gate and saw us, I grabbed the beggar's face with shaking hands and pressed my lips to his. His breath caught, and so did mine. The rain stopped, the air went still, and in that one impossible heartbeat I realized there was something very wrong with him. His pulse didn't race, it thundered. His skin burned like ice, and when he opened his eyes, they weren't human anymore. The kiss of defiance with guards closing in, I did the unthinkable. I kissed him, hoping the scandal would stop the wedding. I didn't plan it, not really. It was pure instinct, the kind of wild decision that comes from knowing you've already ruined everything. Maybe I thought if they saw me like that, kissing a filthy beggar in the rain, they'd drag me back to the palace, yes, but not to a wedding. Maybe I'd be locked away instead of bound to Alaric. At that moment, even a prison sounded like freedom. But the moment my lips touched his, the world changed. His mouth was cold, not the chill of rain, but of winter itself. I felt it rush through me like a storm, cutting through the heat of my fear. His hand moved, just slightly, to the back of my neck, and his fingers trembled, not from weakness but restraint, like he was holding something back. The guards shouted behind me. I could hear their boots splashing through puddles. Someone yelled my name, Princess Leora, but it felt miles away. The beggar's breath ghosted against my lips as I pulled back, and that's when I saw them. His eyes. They weren't brown or gray, they were silver. Not the dull silver of metal, but bright, alive, like the moon reflected in a pool of black water. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Rain dripped down his face, tracing the edges of a scar near his jaw. He looked at me like he'd seen me before, like he'd been waiting for me. What are you? I whispered. He didn't answer. The guards were almost on us now. I turned to face them, my chest heaving, trying to catch my breath and my lie at the same time. You saw it, I said, voice shaking. Tell my father I've shamed him. Tell him I kissed a beggar. They stopped, their faces twisted between shock and disbelief. The captain stepped forward, hand on his sword. Your Highness, come with us. Now. I turned back, but the beggar was gone. Just gone. The space where he'd been was empty except for the sound of rain and the faint smell of something sharp, cold, like frost. I blinked, certain I was imagining it, but the air where he'd stood shimmered faintly before going still again. The guards didn't notice. They just grabbed my arm, muttering about madness and scandal, and dragged me back through the gate. I didn't resist. I couldn't. My lips were still tingling, my heart thundering in my chest. As they led me back toward the palace, whispers spread ahead of us like wildfire. Servants stared. Nobles sneered. My mother's face was pale with fury when she saw me, my father's with shame. Alaric didn't even look surprised, just disgusted. You've disgraced us, my mother hissed, her nails digging into my wrist. You've disgraced yourself. I wanted to scream that I didn't care, that I'd rather be disgraced than dead inside. But then I remembered those eyes, that cold breath, and the way the world had seemed to freeze around us. Later that night, I stood by my window, staring at the forest where I'd seen him. The rain had stopped, but a pale mist curled around the trees. I could have sworn I saw movement, the faintest flicker of silver among the shadows, and when the moonlight touched my lips, they burned. Not painfully, just enough to make me wonder if that kiss had done something far worse than ruin my reputation. The eyes of the beast. His scent, his touch. Something wasn't right. The moment our lips met, I saw something impossible behind his eyes. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his. Silver. Bright. Inhuman. I could still feel the cold from his skin, deep in my bones, like winter had taken root inside me. The castle felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Servants avoided my room. My mother sent priests to cleanse the shame from me, sprinkling incense and muttering blessings I couldn't stand to hear, but none of it mattered. I wasn't thinking about sin or shame, I was thinking about him, the beggar. No, that wasn't right. He wasn't a beggar. I knew that now. He'd moved like someone who didn't fear anyone, like someone who could kill a man without blinking, and those eyes. I'd seen something move in them, something alive. By the second night, I couldn't bear the walls anymore. I slipped out of bed, barefoot, and walked through the dark corridors. The guards didn't stop me, maybe they pitied me, or maybe they didn't dare. The air outside was cold and damp, the moon hanging low and red over the courtyard. I walked until I reached the edge of the forest where the road disappeared into blackness. That's when I smelled it, faint but distinct. Not rot or dirt, not the musk of the woods. It was colder, sharper, like iron and pine mixed with something wild. My heart started pounding, and then I heard the voice. "You shouldn't be here, Dove." I turned so fast I almost fell. He was standing under the same archway where I'd met him, but he wasn't the same. His rags were gone, replaced by dark clothes that clung to him like shadow. His hair was still unkempt, but his posture, God's. He carried himself like someone who owned the ground he stood on. I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe. You disappeared," I whispered. "I had to," he said quietly. "You caused quite the stir." "Who are you?" He tilted his head. "You shouldn't ask questions you're not ready to hear answers to." "Then don't speak in riddles," I snapped, my voice breaking. "Tell me what you are." For a moment he looked almost sad. Then slowly he stepped into the moonlight, and I saw it. His eyes shimmered again, silver and alive, but now I could see faint markings creeping from his temples, glowing softly like frost veins. "You shouldn't have kissed me," he said. His tone wasn't angry, it was resigned. "You've been marked now." "Marked?" My voice was barely a whisper. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked past me, toward the palace. "They'll come for me soon. They always do. But you should stay away from the woods. From me. I don't understand." "You don't need to, just—" He stopped, his jaw tightening. "Forget me, princess. It's safer that way." Then he turned and began to walk into the trees. I wanted to call out, to demand he explain, but something, fear, instinct, maybe both, kept me silent. The night seemed to breathe with him, the wind shifting as he moved, leaves bending toward him as though the forest itself bowed in recognition. And then he was gone again, swallowed by the darkness. Only the scent of frost remained. When I returned to my room, dawn was breaking. I looked in the mirror, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it all. But when the sunlight hit my collarbone, I saw it, faint, like a bruise, a pale crescent mark just below my throat. The same silver hue as his eyes. The cold king revealed the beggar vanished that night, only to return as the feared Lycan Alpha King, and he came for me. By the time the messengers arrived, 3 days had passed. 3 long, sleepless nights of trying to scrub away the crescent mark on my skin. It didn't fade. It pulsed. Softly, rhythmically, like it had a heartbeat of its own. I tried hiding it beneath jewels, scarves, powder. But no matter what I did, it shimmered faintly when the moonlight touched it. Every time it did, I felt that strange chill again, curling through my veins, whispering in my blood. And then, on the 4th morning, everything changed. The palace gates were thrown open before sunrise. I heard it before I saw it, the sound of hooves, of soldiers shouting, the crash of metal and the terrified shrieks of servants. I rushed to the balcony, my heart pounding. They rode in through the fog like ghosts. Massive black horses, armored riders, banners of silver and gray snapping in the wind. The guards at the gate didn't even fight. They fell to their knees. I didn't understand why until I saw the crest embroidered on the Led Rider's cloak, a wolf. Fangs bared, eyes of silver, the symbol of the North, the Cold King. Whispers had followed his name for years. The Lycan Alpha, cursed by the moon, merciless and eternal, a creature of winter and blood, a myth meant to keep children obedient, but he wasn't a myth. He was real, and he was here. When he dismounted, I forgot to breathe. It was him, the beggar from the gate, except he wasn't a beggar now. He was dressed in black and silver armor, his presence commanding the air itself. His eyes were the same, cold, impossible, silver, and when they found mine, the world fell away. The court erupted into chaos. My father's voice thundered through the hall below. "You dare invade our kingdom? Who are you to come unbidden into my court?" He didn't answer right away. He just kept staring at me. Then finally, his voice cut through the noise like a blade. "You know who I am." Silence. One of the ministers whispered, trembling, "The Cold King." The name spread like wildfire. People gasped. Some backed away. Others made the sign of protection over their hearts. My mother grabbed my wrist, her nails biting into my skin. "Leora," she hissed, "get behind me." But I couldn't move. He stepped forward, every movement controlled, lethal. "Your daughter trespassed beyond your walls," he said, his tone calm, too calm. "She crossed into my territory. She touched what she shouldn't have." My father straightened, voice shaking with fury. "She kissed a beggar, not a king." A faint smirk tugged at his lips. I was both. He looked at me again, and something in his expression changed. Softer, almost reluctant. "The mark she carries binds her to me now. You know what that means." My mother paled. My father's hand went to his sword. "You will not take her." The king's eyes glowed faintly, the air thickening around him. "The moon has already taken her," he said quietly. I didn't understand what any of it meant. The mark, the bond, the prophecy that the priests had always whispered about. I only knew one thing. He wasn't asking. When he turned to leave, he didn't look back, but his voice reached me through the echoing hall. "You'll come to me soon, Leora. You'll have no choice." And the worst part? Deep down, I already knew he was right. That night, the mark on my skin burned brighter than ever, and when I looked into the mirror, for the briefest, most terrifying second, I saw silver in my own eyes. He claimed I belonged to him, and no one, not even the prince, dared to defy him. But I wasn't ready to surrender. After the Cold King's visit, the palace became a tomb. Guards lined every hallway, ministers whispered behind closed doors, and my parents spoke to me only in commands, short, clipped, hopeless ones. "Do not leave your room. Do not look toward the forest. Do not speak his name." As if silence could erase what I'd done. Prince Alaric returned the next evening. His expression was carved from stone. He didn't touch me, didn't even look at the mark on my neck. "You've cursed us all," he said flatly. "Do you understand what that creature is?" I didn't answer. He turned sharply, the air thick with disgust. "You've tied yourself to a monster. I should have you executed to spare this kingdom the shame." "Then do it," I said quietly. He froze, his jaw clenching. For the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not love, not mercy, just fear. He left without another word. That night, I dreamt of snow. Endless falling snow and a figure standing at the edge of the forest. His voice whispered through the storm, "Come." When I woke, the window was open. Frost had crept across the glass, curling in strange, perfect patterns. And then I saw it. Footprints in the snow on my balcony, leading inward. My breath caught. He was standing in the corner of the room, half shadow, half light. "You shouldn't be here," I whispered. "Neither should you," he murmured, stepping closer. "But here we are." The mark on my skin burned at his nearness. My pulse pounded, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was something else. Something I didn't want to name. "What do you want from me?" I asked. His eyes flickered, silver like moonfire. "You were bound to me the moment you touched me. The bond cannot be undone." "I didn't mean to. I know." He stopped inches from me. "But the moon does not care for meaning, only for destiny." I could feel the cold radiating off him, the kind of chill that stole breath but left fire in its place. I hated it, how his presence filled the room, how part of me leaned towards him despite everything I knew. "I'm not yours," I said, forcing the words out. "I belong to no one." For the first time, something cracked in his composure. His jaw tightened. You think I wanted this? His voice was low, dangerous. Do you think I choose the bond any more than you? I stared at him, trying to find the man I'd seen at the gate, the one who'd spoken like he pitied me. Then what do you want me to do? He looked at me for a long, quiet moment, then said softly, survive. When the moon calls, come north. The others will come for you before then. Others. He didn't answer. He just stepped back toward the window. The wind stirred, lifting the curtains, and for a moment, I thought he'd vanished into the night again, but then his voice came, low and final. The bond is growing. You'll feel it soon. When he disappeared, the air stayed cold for hours. I sat there trembling, the mark glowing faintly beneath my skin, and realized that whatever had begun with that kiss was far from over. It wasn't just a curse, it was a calling. When the moon rose full, I learned why he had been at that gate, and that fate had written this long before I was born. The days that followed blurred into a half-life. My parents tried to summon priests, healers, anyone who claimed to know the old rites, but none of them could touch the mark. When they tried to burn it away with salt and prayer, the flames turned blue, and one of the priests fainted. After that, no one dared. Every night, the dreams grew stronger. The forest, the cold, his voice. Sometimes I could feel him breathing beside me even though I was alone. I started avoiding mirrors because, under moonlight, my eyes flashed silver for a heartbeat before returning to brown. By the time the full moon came, I knew something would happen. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to see their fear again. I just went to the balcony and waited. The air was still. Too still. Then the wind changed. Sharp, cold, carrying that same scent of pine and frost that haunted me since the night I met him. The moon rose, huge and pale, and the mark on my throat began to throb, slow and deep, like another pulse beneath my skin. And I heard him. Not with my ears. Deeper than that. Inside my mind. It's time, Leora. When I looked down at the courtyard, he was there. No armor this time, just a long black cloak, his silver eyes bright as the moon itself. No guards challenged him. They couldn't. They were frozen where they stood, not dead but caught in something between worlds. I went to him, not because I was commanded, but because I needed to know. He didn't smile when I reached him. His expression was weary, almost human. You feel it now, he said. The bond. What is it? I asked. Why me? He looked up at the moon, then back at me. Because once, long ago, your bloodline and mine were one. A promise was made between a Lycan king and a human queen, to unite, to keep balance between our worlds. But she broke that vow. The bond fell dormant. Until you... I don't believe in fate, I said, but the words sounded hollow even to me. He stepped closer. You think I do? Fate cursed me, Leora. For centuries, I've walked through winters waiting for the one whose touch would wake the bond again. You didn't choose this. Neither did I. But the moon does not ask. My throat tightened. Then what happens to me now? He hesitated, then whispered, the bond will change you. Slowly. Your heart will beat like ours, your senses will sharpen. When the next moon rises, you'll have to choose, stay human, or follow it north. If you resist, it will kill you. I stared at him, unable to breathe. So this was always going to happen? You were waiting for me? No. His voice cracked just slightly. I was hoping I'd never find you. Silence stretched between us. The air was sharp with frost, but I wasn't cold anymore. The mark on my neck glowed steadily now, silver and alive. I took a step closer. And if I come north? His eyes softened, almost regretful. Then the world will see the first queen of the Cold Kingdom in 1,000 years. The bond will be complete, but once you cross, you can never come back. I looked past him, toward the dark trees, the endless stretch of snow and shadow. It should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like something in me was answering. I'm not ready, I whispered. You will be, he said. When the next moon calls, you'll know where to find me. He turned, fading into the mist until the forest swallowed him whole. When I returned to my room, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. The mark was brighter now, and beneath it, I could see the faint shimmer of something moving under my skin, like light beneath ice. For the first time, I didn't try to hide it, because deep down, I finally understood. I hadn't kissed a monster that night. I had awakened one, inside him and inside me.